Welcome to Radio Rejekts. This is episode 4. So let's get into it. Obviously, every episode we want to introduce ourselves first and foremost to make sure the audience kind of knows who we are and what we do as far as for the podcast. And then we let the guests introduce themselves and what they're kind of all about. My name is Lou Fiti. And to my right, my co-host and man of sounds, as always, is DJ SSAB. And our guest today will introduce herself, what you do, who you are, even where they can find you even at this time.
All right, sounds good. My name is Queen Mars. I am a singer, songwriter. You can find my music on all streaming platforms as well as SoundCloud. You can follow my Instagram at I am Queen Mars to keep up with all my releases and just in general my life.
Okay, cool. Let's get into it. Obviously, we were talking a little bit before. Your catalog of music right now is smaller than obviously you're growing it as an artist. Is this something that you had songs prior and then you kind of like, I gotta wash them all out and start brand new?
So as far as like having songs released online prior, no, but trust me, I've had like such a catalog before the stuff that I actually decided was good enough to put online.
Yeah.
Basically that just came about as like I've always been writing music. I've always been recording and like building beats with my producer, but trying to get like something that was more of a cohesive idea, like something that fit together. Like before it was just like me writing songs, trying out every sound that I possibly could.
Okay.
And then like deciding, okay, who do I want to be as an artist? Like, and coming up with that. So that's why it's recent that even like the first song I released was like a year ago.
Yeah.
And then now it's going to be more reoccurring as far as not going to be so spread out. As far as me releasing music. Do
you notice obviously with your songs that you're releasing, is this kind of, do you see a transition in the future of you going from this to something else, like as inspirations kind of?
Oh, for sure. Like for sure. I'm not stuck in a box of like, this is who I am as an artist. This is the music that I'm going to create. Like I literally, from everything that I hear, I take something from like, oh, I like the harmonies in this song. Like I want to eventually use this in my music. Or if someone starts something new or like I hear something new, I'll probably like write it down and it would be like, okay, I'm going to use this at some point. Yeah. So I already know that like my evolution, it's not going to stay the same.
Okay. And then as far as like your writing style, I notice a lot of it being like dance driven.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, it's not always dance, but I can see that there's maybe when you're writing it, it may, and this is me kind of taking my own little point of view of it, that there's some sort of already rhythm involved in it. Not just the melody of the song, but the rhythm. You're kind of already assuming that it's going to be that.
Yeah. So pretty well, except for the last song, the last track I released called Love Me, like I found that beat and I wrote to that beat. But the other tracks that I have, every song that I take to my producer is already written out on piano. And then I just take the chord progression to them and then we build something, we build a beat around the chord progression that I already have.
So you know how to play piano too?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what comes first then?
It depends. Like it completely depends. Like sometimes it's like the melody will come first. Although like when I sit down and I'm like, I want to write a song, I always start off with the chord progression on piano. But it doesn't always happen like that because the inspiration doesn't always hit when I'm at the piano. Yeah. So sometimes like a melody will come in my head, like doing random stuff. Like the song Stuck in My Head, the very first track, I like wrote a lot of that when I was at work. Yeah. Like, yeah, I was at work and I had written that. And so it really depends. Sometimes it's literally just an idea that I'll write down or just lyrics. Like, and then I'll find a melody that fits it. So it really depends.
Now, what came first as far as, did you learn how to play piano first, or were you already singing from like time you could walk?
It's so funny because people always ask, when did you start singing? Like, I've always been singing. I feel like every singer has always been singing. They didn't just discover their voice when they were like 15 and they're like, oh, I can hold a pitch or anything, you know. But I was actually like writing songs before I learned how to play piano, and I learned how to play piano so that I can accompany myself.
So you kind of already knew, like, I want to use this for that.
Yeah, like, because I was just writing melodies, and I had no idea how, like, to put a chord progression with the melody. I was just, like, writing out full songs with no instrument. It was just, like, me singing the melody.
So how many years have you been playing piano?
So officially, like, learning it, I would say, like, at least probably 8 or 9 years. Oh. Yeah.
So you're not, like, new to it?
No, but like I never took. I taught myself how to play piano, so like I'm not most.
But you still, you still know how to play, and obviously
I know how to play, and I understand the instrument, which is really all that you need. Like I understand the notes and all that good stuff. Like I know how to play it, but.
And as far as like right now, because of we're seeing, it's like the recent years you're putting out these songs. You've been writing and singing and, like you said, playing the piano for quite some time. What sparked it to go, all right, now is the time?
Just having more of a clear idea of like who I wanted to be as an artist, because I started recording or like going to the studio when I was probably like 17. Okay. And then like I was really bad at it. Like I was really bad. Like
what was bad? Like the singing or was it?
No, well, like all of it. Like it just like being a recording artist and being like just a musician, it's two different things because before, like, I'm playing piano by myself, meaning I can speed up, I can slow down at whatever point. But whenever you're recording, you're on, like, a metronome. Yeah, you have to stay on beat. So I couldn't even stay on beat at first because I was just like, this is a lot faster than whenever I was writing it or things like that. So it took a while. Like, it's a process. And just in general, like, what's important is, like, whenever you're singing it, it's not just hitting the note. Like, it's not just sounding good. It's like making people believe it. You know, you have to like act it out on the mic, and that took a while as well. So
now with I know more so from interviews and that such, and personal experience from like from rapping lyricism, but for singing, I know it's melody driven. So I mean, it's like obviously, but do you find writing down you're still able to remember that melody that you come up with, or is it do you use some people use like voice memo or whatever like that? Do you get in the car and you like
no, like because since I'm coming up with so much now, like of course I record it so that I remember it, but attaching lyrics to a melody helps you remember the lyrics
a lot more.
Yeah, for sure, because you remember the melody before you remember the lyrics, and then everything just kind of falls.
Do you do like I forgot what interview it was, but somebody was doing where they showed like mumbling first the melody and then you attach the lyrics to it, or do you write the lyrics and then try to come up with the melody afterwards?
No, so probably the melody is first for sure, but I don't just like usually if I'm starting a song, it's not just the melody that's making me start it. Like I already have lyrics in mind, but when I do have that space that I need to fill and I don't know what to say, like you hear me go da, and you and then you mumble it a little bit and then you keep going with whatever you have. So yeah, I do that. But I know people, like you said, they get on the mic and like they'll record a full song and it's literally just them mumbling the melody.
Yeah, you'll see people like Kanye will do that. Yeah. And he'll mumble words, and then eventually later on, you know what I'm talking about. He'll go back, and you won't understand what he's saying, but then he'll put the lyrics attached to it.
But I also like, I don't fully like that way because it's like, I'm not just trying to come up with some lyrics that fit to the melody. I'm like actually trying to say something. Yeah, you know, like when you write lyrics, like you don't want it just to rhyme. Like you want there to be a purpose and like, you want there to be an actual meaning and like a story that you're telling. So like I said, it's never just me mumbling a melody and just like, let me make some lyrics fit to this. It's like, I already have an idea. I already have some lyrics. I just need to find a couple words here and there.
And like I was saying, I know a little bit of from like hip hop aspect, but for singing, it's always like a different thing to me to kind of like know the inside of it. Yeah. Do you notice that there's people that will make a song that's generically driven to fit a general audience, and then there's people that will personally like very, very in depth. Have you made songs that are more generic?
For sure. Like Okay, so when I first started writing music, like I would listen to a lot of songwriters. So like I remember Skylar Grey being one of my favorite, which if you don't know who she is, she wrote the hook for Eminem's "Love the Way You Lie."
She's been on a couple of things.
amazing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
she
she's
like
been on
she's
a lot
been
of
in
her
a couple
stuff.
things,
She's
but
great.
if you notice, her stuff is really dark.
Yeah.
And so like me listening to that as like a really hormonal, moody teenager, like of course all the stuff that I was writing was just super depressing and deep. And then like at a certain point, I'm just like, you know what? I need to make people happy. Like I don't want to just write depressing shit all the time. And so especially when I was first starting, I was just like every single thing that I would write that was happy, I'm just like, man, this is corny as hell. Like I would never release this.
It's
This is
almost
just
like forced or something
yeah,
like that.
it's just like this is just cookie cutter pop music, like
Yeah.
you know. But then after a while, once you kind of like practice a little bit more with anything, it's like you get a little bit better, and then it comes more easy.
So speaking of that, obviously as a songwriter you look to, is there anybody else that you're kind of like, all right, this is tailored? Like if you know how there's always, you don't want to necessarily say you sound like someone else, but you can say this is what you can reference as like this is what I'm kind of going for as far as this songwriting format, whatever it may be.
Well, there's never really just like one specific person that I look to. It's just like one specific person that I look to. Like if I want to write this kind of music, I need to listen to them. I just listen to great songwriters in general. So like one of my favorite artists he's kind of low key, but his name's Jack Garrett, and I just love his music. I think he's such a great artist.
Does he go by Jack Garrett?
Yeah.
He goes by Jack Garrett? I'm not familiar with it.
No, yeah.
I gotta check it out.
You gotta check him out. Like, dude, when I heard his songs, I just like immediately fell in love because I just thought his shit was like so metaphorical, and like I just loved it. Like, so him, I love. I'm trying to see on like mainstream, just so like people actually know who I'm talking about. Yeah.
Are you familiar with someone like a songwriter I like is Dallas Green, City in Color? Have you ever heard of City in Color? That's a good one. You gotta check that out. I mean, people mainstream will know like for songwriting. You got like Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean, I think, is like an amazing songwriter. You get people that are really good at it, and then eventually, I think that's another thing that I want to touch on is people write their own stuff, and then when they get to a point, they bring in a big group of people to help write songs. It's rock bands, it's anybody that they'll eventually start incorporating other people to write that.
Which I don't see an issue with that at all, because like I used to be so against, I wouldn't say collaboration, but like I tend to write everything by myself. Like it's hard for me to find other songwriters in general, especially in this area. There's no underground pop scene in Chicago, and I pretty well write pop music. But at the same time, it's like people are always saying like, oh, well, they don't write their shit anymore. They're selling out. They're mainstream. I'm just like, why not bring in these great songwriters? Because it's, as a artist, why build a house by yourself when you can build a skyscraper with a team? Like,
Damn knowledge. Facts. That was pretty good, actually, the last round.
It's just like, why would you sell yourself short? Because my purpose as an artist is I want to make something as great as possible. I don't want to be the person, well, I did it by myself, I don't need anyone's help. And you're like, yeah, well, your music is subpar. Like, it's all right.
Yeah.
But people who get a team, you can tell that it's just in general, like so many ideas coming. I think it's a great idea to have like a team of collaborators, bring in songwriters, obviously make sure that it's still your vision. Like, don't let someone else write it for you.
And you have full control over it. Yeah,
still have full control. You can just be the director of everything, but like have people give input to it.
And going back to that, as far as like right now, that kind of like struck me too, is that there's no such thing as like an underground pop.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of weird? Like, I think that'd actually be really cool, because there's underground hip hop, there's underground artists, there's garage bands, there's like a form of everything that's like in the indies, but there's not really like a culture for that.
Yeah, people are ashamed to say that they like write pop music. People like, that's not because it just has this stereotype of being really simple, like not that much depth to it. This song's only 3 chords. It's like, the melody's not that complex. but who fucking cares? Like,
Yeah.
and so that's why there's no underground pop scene, is because no one wants to say that they're a pop artist. And even if they are pop artists, they're gonna say some bullshit like, well, I'm like alternative, and like
And
I mix,
they
like,
put like a label on it.
yeah, like they're gonna put this like really just crazy like this. I'm like a neo soul electronic hip hop trap beat, like just like this super long label of their music of how you describe it, when it's just like,
And
well,
sometimes it's not really. It's like an
yeah, like
overwrapped.
I'm really bad at labels in general. Like, if you like show me a song, like I never am like that person. Oh, like, well, that's like jazz funk mixed with whatever. Like, I never hear that. I just, do I like it or not?
Yeah.
And so even my music, like I say pop, obviously there's more influence in it, but that's the general basis of it,
For people that because songwriting, it's a little different experience. Some people have to go to certain like trips or whatever it may be. Is there like a certain thing that you have that like a mood, or some people, they'll bring like candles or lava lamps to like certain areas.
To their right.
Yeah, because or even when they go home, what is it?
Cocaine.
Yeah. I need this to write.
Yeah, do some kind of drug. Yeah.
That's another thing too. A lot of people need a certain psychedelic to write certain things, or they feel like that's their crutch almost, but not even in the sense of it being a crutch, but also there's certain people that when they paint, they need to be like secluded in a dark room, like dim lit. Is that like, do you have any sort of muse or anything like that where you bring inspiration from?
Not really. Like, I mean, besides the fact that I write better when I'm by myself, because I'm the type of person, like, I'll hold a chord for like a long ass time, like 10 minutes spinning on this one chord, and I feel a little uncomfortable if I have other people, because I feel more rushed to come up with something. But besides that, like, I've done it for so long. Like, I started writing songs when I was literally like 8 years old, because I always liked to sing, and then I was just like, you know what, this is when I thought that everyone wrote their own music in the industry. And so I'm just like, well, if I want to be a singer, then I need to write my own music. And that's when I started. And then I just continued to do it for so long that it's natural to me,
Was there anything that kind of made you start like singing? Because you see people that's like, oh, I started like Tim. We talked to Tim, Tim.
Yeah.
He said he learned a lot of that from church. It's like randomly it was from church, or like you get like the bigger artists like Beyonce, the dad, or Michael Jackson. His dad was like, we're gonna make sure we're gonna start a band. There was nobody in your family that.
Dude, like, I am like the black sheep of my family. Like, I have no idea why I want to do music. Like, the only thing I could really say is just like listening to it and being infatuated when I was younger, and then I got in my head that that's what I wanted to do, and then it just never changed.
Yeah.
And so like, no, I didn't really have anyone who was like actually pushing for it. Like, my parents are just now supporting me because they see that I'm like doing shit with it and like actually pushing for it. I'm not saying, oh, I want to be a singer and then like, just sing in my house by myself. Like, I'm actually out there doing stuff. But I have like some musical people in my family. Like, I will say that my grandmother is like the one who kind of taught me how to play the piano a little bit. Like, she was the one who was like, this is C. Like, you have the piano and you have the little stickers with every note on it. And she's the one who gave me my first keyboard, which allowed me to be able to learn it like fully. So
she gave you a little bit of a push.
Yeah. So I would say that she gave me a push.
The resources.
But she never was like, you should be a singer. Like, you should go for this. Like, no one in my family was like that. They were just like, you want to be a singer? Okay. That's
like
cool.
The cheer moms, that's like a horrible thing where they're like constant, like, you need to do this, you need to do
Stage mom. Okay, look.
Stage mom. That's
stage mom. I tell my mom all the time, I'm just like, but I wish you were a stage mom. I was just like,
because they would have pushed. I think like sometimes, it's like it's a scary thing. Like you hear stories, like I go back to Michael Jackson and his dad. You hear like scary stories, but then it made that man. Like, I mean,
obviously, like, there's a level when it becomes abuse, and it's not just like them pushing you, but like, if a parent's influencing that at a young age, they're teaching you discipline. And like, I feel like that's something that I kind of lacked in my younger years. It's like discipline to actually like practice every day and, really like perfect my craft. Is something that I learned later on in life when I was like, okay, I kind of need it. So, I mean, it's stage moms. Like, it is scary, like, especially at a point if they're like living vicariously through their child,
That's the worst.
Like,
that's the worst.
that's bad. But like, just in general, like being a support system and like I don't know, getting you voice lessons or something when you're young.
To put it into play. You were talking about your grandma living. Well, she wasn't living with you. Like probably just.
So.
Because the reason why is because you said you moved a lot. We talked a little bit. And you said you moved a lot. Was that kind of like every time you move somewhere else, or is there like sparks of inspiration that you kind of? Because different surroundings will. Like I lived in California. You see people in a different light. You know, a lot of people think like, oh, I need to get out of this town. It's gonna be, and there's people that are exactly the same everywhere you go.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I have noticed that it's literally like their people are the same. Like they're
You get gems. You get some gems.
But yeah, no, you find people that it's just like that person reminds me exactly of this person I knew. Like this person in Chicago reminds me exactly of this person I knew in Texas, and like they have that. I've noticed that though. Like I'll just say that is that I've definitely noticed that there isn't that much variation of like there's the same groups of people everywhere you go.
Now, how many places have you lived in?
So I've lived in Illinois, lived in Indiana, Texas, Arizona, Virginia, I think. But then I also like moved around to different places in Texas, like
in different areas.
Yeah, different areas. Same thing like in Illinois, like I moved in different areas.
Is there a spot you're like, man, I probably would have done something different in that area, or you know, because you wanted to sing, but do you think like maybe you would have excelled at a different pace?
Not from the places that I've lived, no. Except for like I feel like Chicago is definitely one of the best places, even
like
though
the mecca of all those places that would be able to get in there.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely the place that I need to be right now. Like if this is a place that I met people who like have the same interests as me, like, well, I didn't really for the longest time I didn't tell anyone I wanted to be a singer, but like this is the place where I feel like I found myself as an artist. So
do you think there's a gap like when you're trying to tell somebody that you're a singer, do you like initiate that conversation, or is it people stumble upon it, or you have a like a friend that's like do you know that like they actually sing like
no, okay, so I don't, it's not like hi, I'm a singer, like I don't tell people right away. It's like, but it's not something that I hide either. And so like if I'm talking about my life, like I'll just be like, yeah, you know, I went to the recording studio last night, and they were like, oh, you're a musician. I'm just like, yeah, like I just talk. It's like it's really casual how I bring it up, like
because now, like I'm now compared to like I guess decades ago, people were musicians or artists, everything like that, and you didn't know. You didn't know at all. Then you get people now. You have social media. You have Instagram. You have Twitter. So if you're like, oh yeah, this is my friend from work. This is my friend from school. And you follow that person.
And you're like, they have a SoundCloud link.
Oh, where's the person's on stage? What are they doing? That's pretty random. Like you could check SSABs and you could obviously see he DJs and hustles. So I mean, do you see that's like a difference on that? Like I mean, obviously with your Instagram, you deleted a lot of the photos.
Yeah.
I noticed. I'm not trying to drop it. But I'm just saying,
like no, I did because I mean, when we were talking about the whole name change and like me deciding to go by a stage name as opposed to my own, like then you have to work on rebranding. Like, you know, I don't want my personal life as Brianna on my Queen Mars page, you know? So that's why I did that. Plus I want there to be like everything to go together. I want it to be like a portfolio when you go to my
and this is like media. In the mist. I understood it. I thought it was actually really good because when you did do the name change, it like the adjustment of it is like, okay, I'm gonna start over fresh, and you're obviously releasing the songs relatively, like I mean, recent within the years or so. So, is this like in a hype of a project that's coming out? So there is.
It is, yeah, definitely for sure. And I'm hoping to have the project finished by the end of the summer. I don't want to I'm not rushing on it. Like I'm taking my time and making sure that it's exactly what I want, because if I'm going to introduce myself as this new artist, I don't want my first project to be something that I'm not proud of, or like something that I felt like I could do more with. So yeah, and it's just going to be self-titled. It's going to be Queen Mars, so that people know that this is me as this artist. I almost like look at it as a project. Like this is my art project in a way. This is me as Queen Mars. Like this is two separate people. Like I don't want you to think of my friend Brianna the singer, you know?
Yeah.
I want you to be like, this is Queen Mars as an artist. Like,
So you're almost breaking away from your personal
yeah,
life.
and that's the whole point of me releasing like as a artist name, is because I felt like too many people still saw it as like, you know, like
You making music
yeah,
rather
exactly,
than like,
me
no, I'm
making
an
music
artist.
as, yeah, exactly the same thing. It's not, I don't make music, this is me as an artist.
Okay.
And that was really important. Plus, like, there's just some more mature things that I wanted to touch on that I just didn't want like my family to
Come
like,
back to
yeah,
indirectly.
Like,
I think every artist has that. I think
Mhm.
when you get to a point and you'll notice, or if you know artists and everything
Mhm.
like that, you get to this point where you're like, you're still in that circle.
Mhm.
So once you become established and you
Mhm.
have this general success, then you're coming back to the family and you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, I've done something. Now you
Yeah.
need to see me as, your
Mhm.
brother
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
whatever. But I think in the midst of you still growing, you're, oh, that's just my sister. That's just my niece, or that's just whatever, like that, until
Yeah.
they establish it. Even with friends
Mhm.
too. Then they start saying like, oh wow, like you're doing shows. Oh wow,
Yeah.
you're doing this.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot of shows?
I've done shows, yes. Most recently, I've been literally working on so much other stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I don't have time to prep for shows. I'm working on this project so that when I do start doing shows, I have like a portfolio of work to do. Like, people can go online and see my project and see more than just a couple songs.
Okay.
So that's literally where all my time has been going. Also, like, I'm about to shoot a music video as well, literally tomorrow. And so,
That's
like,
good.
yeah, like, I've been having to, like, pretty well come up with a lot of the stuff myself.
As far as
Um,
concept and what you want to do.
yeah. And so that's stressful in itself, because you don't, like, I don't have someone speaking for me, or, like, really sitting there writing the whole plot out for me. Like, I have to do it myself, and then I have to go pitch it, and so
And collaborate and network and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I think a lot of artists deal with that too. You hear them where they just want to be an artist. They just want to
Yeah.
create the art, and hopefully everything else
Yeah.
falls in place. And people, they're the ones that's doing this, and they're the
Yeah.
ones that setting like this. Like I wish I could just show up. Everything's already set up and
Yeah,
we're already
right?
done.
No, we
But
gotta do you
unfortunately-
gotta do that shit
Unfortunately, you
yourself.
gotta set it
Yeah.
up and everything like that. So it's a little different.
Yeah.
For the project itself, do you see you already have your packaging and artwork and everything like that, or are you still
So-
working on that too as well?
I already have the concept and the idea of what I wanted to, and I've already talked to people about making it happen. At this point, it's just actually doing it, but like, everything's planned out. It's just, taking the time out to make sure that it turns out the way that I want it to be. You know?
That's
but
why
yeah.
there's no timeline.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there is a timeline. It's for sure going to be out by like end of summer, early fall.
Okay.
But that
But you
exact
also- yeah,
date
yeah.
yet, I don't have that set.
Yeah, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
'Cause I'm
especially
gonna
with the
say
first
that, yeah.
project too as well. And once you start getting like backing and
Mhm.
people that are on you,
Mm-hmm.
then you can say like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it this time, but
Mhm.
whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Especially if you have full control of it,
Mhm.
that's like obviously the biggest
Mhm.
thing. And how many songs is gonna be on it?
5. It's going to be an EP.
That's even better.
Yeah.
That makes it easier.
Yeah.
Are you gonna have packaging, or are you just gonna do streaming?
For right now, it's just streaming, and then we'll look into doing packaging, because I've talked about that as well as having like physical things, because it's becoming a thing again. Like, people want vinyl records. I've heard that
They're
people.
pretty
I've actually
expensive,
heard.
yeah.
I know. I've actually heard that like people are like wanting tapes now, but CDs. No, we don't do CDs.
We don't do
anymore.
CDs.
We're over CDs. Like,
I
that's
find that
too new.
weird. The cassettes, they want the cassette tapes, and where are they gonna play it? I don't know.
They'll
I don't-
find one. They'll feel cool walking around with, what is it, a Walkman that people?
Or even like a
put-
boombox.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just play it in there with a giant boombox walking around.
Exactly.
I'm vintage.
Exactly, though. Yeah.
So I mean, like with that, I find that kind of weird. Always
Mhm.
with the surrounding back to like the. Do you think like style too as well?
What do you mean?
Because you see people going backwards.
Oh wait, yeah. Okay, of course.
Do you feel that's gonna happen with music too?
I mean, it's already started happening, right?
Damn, full
It's already
circle.
started, yeah. And so that's why, like, I'm waiting to hear something new, because everything that's coming out usually is just a reinvention of what's already been put out, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just like, there are a few things that like completely change the game. Like, because I argue with people all the time about how people say classic music is just way better than new music because
Classic in what though?
classic in way
Like classically composed music, like
okay, no, not classically. I mean so example, I was kind of not arguing, but just talking to this guy because
they're now in jail.
no, right, about like Motown and like
Oh, okay.
they're
okay.
like, you know, all the rappers sample this, so the rapper's music isn't as good as the, you know, the other music. And I'm just like, well, that music was definitely taken an inspiration from something else, you know, like.
And they had the same conversation.
Yeah.
They probably had the same conversation where they're like, yeah, that music is not the same as this music.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what I said. I was just like, dude, do you know when the only reason why I know this is because one time I had an English class that the guy was a super Beatles fan, so every research paper we ever wrote was on the Beatles, and so I like know so much information about them. Yeah, and so you know, we look at the Beatles now as like they changed the game and like they are the foundation for a lot of pop music now. Like we are artists now because of who they were back then. I was like, when the Beatles came out, like all the old heads were like, man, what is this shit that the new kids are playing?
Yeah, they didn't like it.
They didn't like it. And so I'm just like, it's literally the same thing now. Like the new music that's coming out now with the more younger crowd, they're like, what is this? This is shit. Like our music is better.
Well, they even with like Elvis.
Yeah.
People were like, this is too raunchy.
Yeah.
And he was just moving his hips.
He was moving his
and
hips.
They're like, oh no, you can't watch
and you
that.
Only show him
and then
like,
you see like Nelly videos where he's like sliding credit cards and
yeah.
and you're like, wow, that's
yeah.
like it's changed a lot more. Even like the stuff that you hear on the radio is completely different. I think that's kind of where I do see an argument to it. You hear things like Earth, Wind and Fire or what's the one group? But regardless, they make like very very soulful songs. The one that sung like My Girl, I can't remember. The Temptations, yes. But you hear those songs and then you're like, the love songs are not the same. I get it.
But the
compared
thing
to like some love songs
on the radio, yes, right. But it's like we don't live in the day and age where we only have radio to listen to anymore. So why are you complaining? Like no one's forcing you to listen to it. Like I rarely listen to the radio. I have like
I don't know anybody that actually does listen to it unless you're forced to.
Exactly. If there's no aux cord in the car, right. But it's just like I listen to my own playlist, and so you think that the radio is the representation of music now, but it's not, because there are plenty of new artists coming out that aren't played on the radio, that the music is just as good. Like it's just as meaningful as it was 30 years ago, you know?
Now with that, you find a lot of times, I've had this argument before where touching kind of like on that whole conversation. In the past, you weren't able to skip. You weren't able to skip songs. Yeah. You weren't able to go to different songs. You get a lot of albums that are now that you're like, 5 out of 7 songs are good.
Yeah.
In the past,
singles.
Do you think that it was almost like they're all good music because they were forced to listen to it?
Probably.
And they couldn't skip? Like you had a track, you didn't have a chance to do it. They either had to press rewind or fast forward.
Yeah.
Now, I think it almost like minimize the attention span.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, for sure. Like, yeah, everything about this day and age minimizes our attention span.
Literally, like me as a DJ, when I'm looking for like new music, if I could just listen to like 3 seconds of the song and be like, nope, I'll go to the next one. Like while I'm doing like my music search, I'll just listen to like 3 seconds. Oh, next one. Like that.
And that, I mean,
my attention span is so short.
But do you, now this is going to be just for you, or maybe even for you, do you find songs, I've had this, where I listened to a song, I skipped over it so many times. Yeah. I listened to the 3 seconds, I was like, that's trash. I mean, not trash, but I mean, it wasn't right. And then I listened to it like later on, because I let it go through, and I was like, this shit's kind of really good. And then you start, that becomes your favorite song.
Yeah.
Why do we skip the songs?
I think that happened to me on Suddenly by SSAB Rocky, where it's like very slow in the beginning, and then he goes into like his Bone Thugs flow. He's like,
is this the last project?
No,
or this the
not the recent one. It's Live Long ASAP, the second one.
Okay.
But it was just like very mellow, and I would always skip it. And then like when one day like I was playing it, I was like, oh my god, what the hell? It just happens. You know what I mean?
And there's songs that you literally will skip.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times you're consumed by the catalog of an artist. So you only listen to those songs, and then you listen to like Michael Jackson. People know all the main songs.
Right.
Even one of the bigger ones. My favorite Michael Jackson song is Butterflies. Ever heard that?
Never even heard it.
Exactly, son. Exactly. And I listened to it. I'm like, man, Michael Jackson was so talented.
Yeah.
And you hear those songs.
Yeah.
So is it like something that when you make a project, are you like almost?
I gotta make it sound catchy.
Is that
keep
does
on.
that figure
Okay.
like I need to make it small because of this, or I need to make the song
Yeah.
shorter because of that, or whatever it may be?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm releasing an EP and not an album.
Yeah.
Like, no one's gonna take the time to listen. Like, few people, but most people won't take the time to listen to a full album from a new artist.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna do that and like you said, if they do, they're gonna skip after 5 seconds of each song.
Like, nah, I don't like this one.
Yeah, so that's just, I mean, that's the day and age we live in. And like, I was gonna bring that up is that like you skip it, and then if you listen to it, or like even the first time you listen to it, you're like, I don't like this song. But then if you listen to it again, you're like, you know, it's growing on me. Like, that's how music was back then. That's why they think their whole projects are good. But yeah, no, our attention span is like completely short, and that's why like just we have like mostly headline media. Like, no one really
Clickbait.
Yeah, no one
Right.
wants to
A lot
read
of it is.
a lot of the articles, and if they do, then they're going to read the first paragraph or two.
And a lot of that is discussions too. You'll
Mhm.
you'll end up in discussions. I've had this happen to me before, and I'm to blame for it too.
Mhm.
I'll read like a portion
Mhm.
of something
Yeah.
and think I already know it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just be like,
Dude,
oh yeah, did
yeah.
you know blah blah blah, and I just seen it scrolling through and whatever like that
Yeah.
too as well.
Yeah.
Now as far as for your music, is there like a concept that you're trying to go for with this?
I'm just trying to be honest in the music that I make. I mean, it's really hard for me not to be, since I write everything. It's hard for me to everything that I write, even if I'm just like, I'm going to write a song about this and try to stick to this one subject, and it doesn't matter how like generic. If I'm just like, let me write a pop song real quick, a catchy dance pop song, it's just somehow I put myself into it. Like, you know, I'm gonna subconsciously write something that's actually about myself in the song. So it's like, that's all that I'm really worried about, is making sure it sounds good. I say vocal production is really big for me on this new album, or like this new project that I'm working on. And my whole like purpose of writing it is like, I'm a songwriter. That's what I am. Like, before I even felt comfortable saying I was a singer, like, I was comfortable saying I'm a songwriter because I've been doing it for so long. So I want my songwriting to be good and like actually mean something, but at the same time, I don't want to hide the music of it. So I want the music to be just as good, because, you know, there's music that's like driven by the beat of the song. Like, they're not saying shit in the song, you know, like, it doesn't make any sense.
That's
but
heavy
the
in
beat
hip
is
hop.
yeah, obviously.
Heavy
But-
right now
right?
too.
Yeah. So the beat like is the driver of the song. Not that I'll necessarily say that's a bad thing, because I'm just like, that's still music, even though the words don't mean shit. I want the beat to be as good as the lyrics. So I want the lyrics to be phenomenal. I want the beat to be phenomenal. So all together, like, just the project is good. I don't want to just be writing songs and then I'm just going to put it with my piano in the background, because I want it to be really meaningful, because
Is
it's
that
kind
it?
of boring.
Now, do you have the same? You said you worked with you send your chords or work with a producer. Is that the same one for all these songs now?
Yes, except for the last song. So like I said, the last song, Love Me, I found that beat. And like, I wrote that song in like 30 minutes, because it was a catchy beat, and I was like, man, I really like this. And that just happened the way that I'm just like, I wrote a song right then and there. I'm just like, if my inspiration was like right there, I have to go ahead and record this and put it out. Like, I dropped everything else I was doing to record that song and put it out, and I did it within like a couple weeks, because I was just like so inspired. But the other two tracks, The Lady and Stuck in My Head, I go to the same producer who I've known, who's actually the producer that first I started recording with. So like, I've known him for a really long time.
Oh, so he's an engineer too as well.
Yes, he is an engineer.
Okay.
I don't get my stuff engineered by him. I kind of go to another studio, but every beat that I want built,
Now, are you recorded in the city?
no, I'm
Does
recording
that
in
make
the
it easier?
suburbs.
I've been to recording studios in the city and the recording studios in the suburbs, and sometimes suburbs are just easier to kind of access and get like a comfortable thing. Sometimes in the city, people will go there because you may bump into
Yeah.
certain people.
No, I've been to a lot of studios, and I just go to the suburbs because it's not easier. It's like an hour drive. Like, it's really hard to get there, actually. I just have a relationship with that person. And yeah, a comfort. And I know that I've spent so much money getting like really bad mixes and like stuff not ending up the way I wanted it to. So I go to the person who I know is going to. Dude,
it's the worst feeling too.
It really is, because you put all your trust in this person to like make your shit like the way you want it to be, you know.
We were explaining the past 2 guests that we do that, as far as like they make music, we talk to them, and it's always good when you're able to establish some sort of relationship with that engineer and that producer.
Yeah.
Because we mentioned, and I'll mention it again when I was talking to GC, who's the director. There's sometimes I'll have a vision for him, because I'll do like comedy sketches for like promos for this, and I'll write it, but in my mind I'm just writing something. I don't necessarily know the capabilities of the board, and he's able to know the terminology and know certain things. So I can say, hey, can you just like, what's the thing where you just like do this? Or like with music, it'd be like, what's the thing with the beat where I can like have it this, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, and they'll know exactly what you're trying to figure out.
And they feel and they tell you.
And you feel comfortable.
Asking those questions.
You don't feel stupid because some person, you're gonna be like, I don't want to sing in front of this person because they feel weird, or I don't want to mention this and they're gonna think I'm stupid or whatever.
No, like for sure, like it's especially, like I said, I'm very particular, and that's another reason why I don't have like a huge portfolio out, is because I'm very particular in what I put out, and like how I want my stuff to sound mixed, just in general. So I feel a lot comfortable when you have a relationship with someone, telling them what I want and then telling them I don't like it, you know, as opposed to some people that I don't know. I'm just like, I kind of feel bad that I got to tell them I don't like the shit right now, you know, like.
Now, have you had those moments?
Yeah, of course.
Some people will bite the bullet. That's what I'm saying. Like some people will be like, all right, well, now I got to save up money and go to a different place and do it all over and get it mixed and mastered.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like now I kind of know the people to go to. So I'm okay right now. But when I first started, like so much money I felt like was just being wasted on like me trying out different places. And I'm just like, none of this is sounding good. Like, I don't know. So that's definitely happened. Like, you just have to, though.
So right now you have a home base.
Yeah.
You have a home spot. Now, for the project, though, it's only a select few of songs. Are you going to have any, is it just straight songs? Is it going to have skits, features, anything like that?
No, it's not going to have skits. Features.
I'm sorry. That's such a hip-hop
or like,
thing.
No,
it's like 7 skits out of like 10 songs.
Well, not even like a skit, but like an interlude or something like that.
Yeah, I got you.
No, I'm not going to have any of that because, like you said, it's only 5 songs. Like,
yeah. Well, you don't see that too often with R&B and soul records, or even singing melody, and like just in any of those, or even pop songs. You don't really see a lot of albums that have skits.
Not skits, but they're getting shorter. Like The Weeknd just dropped that 6-track. You know, Pusha T just dropped like 7 tracks. So we're just seeing like, I don't know. I think people are realizing that the longer it gets, the more repetitive, or the more things you're running out of to say. Yeah. So I think if you could like shoot it down to like less than 7 songs or so, and it's like hits every main point 100%, versus saying it over and over in like 2
So you're getting your point across.
Exactly.
Because especially with somebody like The Weeknd, and I don't necessarily know if you feel that way too as well. People have such a distinct sound that it's almost like, okay, you have like 14 songs the same thing, rather than like 7 of them sound so different. Okay, it's good.
Yeah.
I think with like certain things, even with like rock bands or anything like that, you'll country, you'll have like, okay, I get it, they sound this sound. Yeah. Do you feel like you're trying to switch up on every single thing?
No, but like that's definitely a concern of mine, because one, I don't want it to all sound the same. Like, but at the same time, I want you to be able to recognize me as an artist. So I don't want everything to be completely different. So it's kind of finding that balance. But like, I mean, for you when you have the songs and you write it, it's just like, okay, all these songs sound different to me. But then someone else might listen to it and be like, man, all these sounds sound the exact same, you know?
And they start getting confused and everything like that with that.
I just think just make good music, really.
Yeah, you know, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, there is some like point to that.
Yeah.
Because there's like a fine line between, I want a sound, but I don't want that sound all the time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because you get that.
Yeah.
I think with like certain people, like even like a Drake, he's able to like all the albums sound different. Kanye's projects sound different. Frank Ocean, Channel Orange sounds completely different than Blonde, but you hear his voice and his sound. It's similar.
I think with artists like that though, they put out projects like every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So when you look at someone
Frank
like
Ocean's like 7.
yeah, exactly. So it gives it time for the culture to change or the sonic music to sound it's different. It's growing. But I think with people like let's look at like Gucci Mane. He drops like a project every like couple months and it's like sounds like a lot the same. You know what I mean? So it's like those artists that you're saying, there's so much time in between their music drops that it's just like it allows them to grow more and get more surround different people, different musicians and stuff like that.
And I think you're able to look at the catalog and see the difference between all of them.
Right.
Like each one has its own sound. As far as do you think that kind of like equates back to level of success?
For sure, because every like, I mean, I won't go so much off of rappers, but like a lot of just big female artists. Like a lot of their projects, every single album that they drop, they're like a completely different person. And that's how they stay relevant is by changing their sound. So it's like Beyonce, when she came out with, Dangerously in Love is not Lemonade Beyonce, like at all.
Yeah.
Like
At all.
you see, and then you see the transitions, like each album, she did something like different, like a different sound. Literally everyone, though, almost every single artist does that, except for, I'll say one thing, Justin Timberlake, I feel like all of his projects are like the same sound, and he's been out for a while. Yeah, like
I think the only way, I think maybe prior to him working with Timbaland, like that made that sound. And then they were always trying to kind of recreate that.
Yeah.
To the point where he made like this recent one was like a country one, and it sounded not like country. It sounded like
It's
maybe
still, like,
more guitars a little bit or
Yeah.
something like that, but it wasn't really
but
like anything
it still
distinguished.
sounded like, when I heard it, I'm just like, this is definitely Justin Timberlake. Or even like Adele. Like you hear Adele's music, you always know it's Adele's music. You know, like
but she made waves with that.
Yeah.
That was it 21.
Yeah.
She made waves
Because it
with
was
that one.
it was different.
I think everybody was
Yeah.
in their feelings.
Rolling
with
in
that.
the
Yeah.
deep, bro.
Yeah.
That's a bop.
He
Yeah.
played that with the
It's a
candles
vibe.
on.
God,
It's
like,
a
when you first
rolling
heard
in
that
the deep.
song is
No, yeah.
But then the next one came out. I didn't hear much of that.
Well,
the
I mean,
next
it's
project.
really hard to live up to that success. Like,
It's true.
it's very hard to. She was sold like 20 million at least, like worldwide.
She
of
was
that other
selling a
album.
lot.
Yeah. And
I think
it's-
with even like Beyonce, that's another thing. Do you think like with them being so transparent and like Beyonce, like you obviously know a lot about Beyonce.
Yeah.
You know a lot about that woman's life and everything like that.
Yeah.
That are you like sometimes do you, and this is foreseeing something you can't really like determine. Do you want to kind of have that sort of recognition and be in that light? And being honest, being genuine, because some people was like, no, I don't want that, but they really do want it. Or do you kind of say like, you know what, I am somewhat in fear of not having privacy anymore, in fear of not being able to do the things that I want to do, because she can't go nowhere.
Yeah.
And everything that happens, the elevator thing was a huge thing. Like everything is big.
But see, okay, this is my theory. Like everyone who's in the spotlight wants to be in the spotlight.
Yeah. They may be in denial and naive
like,
about it.
Because you like, look, okay, yeah, that whole thing that the elevator thing happened. But like, what else do you hear about Beyonce? Like, because it was such a shock whenever Lemonade came out and they're like, Jay-Z is cheating on Beyonce. Like she's confirming it. But even like Taylor Swift, who was like gone for like 2 years, like before she released her new album, like she didn't do any interviews. Like she wasn't in the press like every single day. People who want to be in the press are in like they almost
control
want to
it.
be there. Yeah, for sure. Like for sure. Like I don't believe that. Like even the artists that you think are, because at the end of the day, you have to sell your product. So you can pretend like you don't want to be like a socialite, but if you have to sell your music, like you're gonna be there.
But I feel like with going back to like older, with prior to social media, I felt like people are still trying to be rock stars, and they can't establish that anymore. Like because in the past, there was almost like the untold stories. Nobody has footage of these things that happen. Now everything is glamorized. Everything is caught on footage. Everything is videotaped. You easily can go like this and say like, I'm with this person right now.
Yeah.
in the past it was all stories. So it
Yeah.
became more of like
Yeah.
this era of like unknowing.
Yeah.
Do you think like that's kind of something that we miss, to be able to kind of separate from always having to? Now these artists do have to sometimes promote
Yeah.
themselves and be all out and go on talk shows and
Oh yeah.
and post pictures all the time and everything like that.
Yeah. No, that's exactly.
Does that take
what you
away
have to
from the
do.
music?
I don't necessarily think it takes away from the music, because I think it's the marketing of it. And there's all, like, from the beginning of time, like every musician has had marketing. It's just now our way of doing it is on social media. And so I don't think it takes away from the music. I just think it allows people who aren't necessarily musicians to get famous, from
And
doing these
viral.
crazy things on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have more. I think the artists now independently have a lot more capability. Like this wouldn't be possible to do like this like a decade ago or
Yeah.
something like that. This would be like way more expensive, way more everything like that. It's even as an artist to book your own studio time. That was all through companies, through record labels. So I think it's like now there's like a give and take that we have more ability to do these things because of the fact of all this more social acceptance or whatever it may be. With your project though, do you have like a promotional push that you're trying to achieve? Like as far as like, okay, I'm gonna release the video. Like I mean, considering it's a smaller portion of songs, are you gonna have like some people have videos for every single song?
I probably won't have a video for every single song.
Or there's ones that you're like, I know for sure I'm gonna get those.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I do have a plan. I have it planned out of like when I release this video, I'm gonna release this song and all that good stuff. I mean, it's a process, and I feel like a lot of with being an artist is there's no right or wrong way to do it. Like I know people who have like their next 5 years planned out. They're like, if they're in school, I take this class. Once I take this class, I take this one. Then I get this internship, and everything's set out for them. I'm just like, as an artist, it's like you have to take a step, see where you're at, see how well that went, and like decide from there. So it's hard for me to be like, this is my plan for the next 6 months, because I know that's gonna change. You know, so it's just figuring everything out, and like I'm fine with it. Like it's a process, but like I'm completely down for it. Like
right now, these are the accumulating the stories that people like. Once you gain that success, people are gonna want to go back to and be like, "What were you doing that time? Like, oh, I wish I was there doing that video." Blah blah blah. So where are you filming? Oh, no, maybe not be able to say where you filming the video, but it's gonna be in this area. Like, I mean, in Chicago, or is it gonna
be partially in Chicago, partially in the suburbs.
How do you go about networking? Do you find trouble with that?
No, I used to, but now it's a lot easier because I don't care as much as I used to, which is like
very
really
true.
sad. But it's just like I used to care so much that I became very stagnant, and I wouldn't do anything because I'm just like, well, what if this is the wrong step?
Yeah.
Now I'm just like doing whatever. I'm just like, if I make a mistake, it's cool. Like I'll learn from it, move on. So networking isn't like super hard. Like I slide in a bunch of people's DMs like all the time.
Yeah.
Just like people that I admired. I'm just like, you know what? Like, let me try to connect with this person. Not necessarily to connect and be like, well, as soon as I message them, let's work on this project together. They don't know you. Like, and a lot of people aren't really up for collaboration as much as you would like them to be.
Yeah. You get a lot of ignored messages and all that kind of stuff.
But it happens. Like, and the thing is, like, I've learned, like, I used to think that in order to be successful, like people have to know that you're going to be successful from the moment you meet them. Like you have to walk in and be like, that's a star, like, but it's not like that. And so it's like, you have to find that right person, that one person who believes in you, that you can work together with and create something, because you're going to like, I've gotten way more no's than I've gotten yeses, but it's just like that one yes is what's going to like take me to the next level.
Take you a little more.
Yeah.
We've had Marcus on here. You've worked with Marcus?
Yeah. I've known Marcus for a while. Yeah.
Is that a song or a feature that's going to be on the project, or is that just strictly going to be is in the works? I know you said kind of like.
Yeah. So it's not something that I've necessarily like reached out. I don't know if I necessarily want features on it. I want a lot of people to collaborate on this project with me, but I don't know if I'm gonna have more features. So I haven't reached out to him. I might, like, usually when he did the Stuck in My Head song, I literally didn't have any of that stuff finished first. I just, like, wrote the song, and then I sent him a voice memo of me playing it on piano. I was just like, can you write, like, do you want to collaborate on this song?
Yeah.
And he's just like, he had to go up. He didn't know a beat or anything. I was just like, yeah, just start writing something. And, like, he was completely for it. So, like, in general, maybe not this project, but definitely in the future, I'd collab with him.
Does that work because you know them? Because you obviously wouldn't send something like that to, you know,
dude,
a big.
yeah, I hate sending voice recordings to people, but, like, sometimes that's, like, all I have, you know?
Yeah. For reference, at least.
Yeah, especially if, like, you're reaching out to a producer or something, like, you know, you send them that. But I don't necessarily like doing it. I mean, my voice recordings don't sound like complete shit. It's just, you know, a little static in the background, though.
And it's like a rough draft of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, like, well,
like
see, yeah, and, like, it's so funny. Like, this is why whenever we create beats, I go to the studio, because I remember this one time on that song Stuck in My Head. So I write everything on piano, so it tends to all sound like a ballad. Like, no matter what like you said, my songs sound dancey, but, like, when I write them, they sound like a ballad. And so I sent it to my producer one time. He's like, you know what, I'll start working on it, blah, blah, blah. He sent me the track back, and I was just like, this is, like, nothing like I was seeing on this project.
Envision.
Yeah,
and this is the guy that you know, too.
Yeah. And so it's just like I have to go there and pretty well tell him exactly what I want. But that was, you know, that song was a couple years ago, too. So our relationship has obviously developed since then. I still, like, I don't know how I feel about, because it's like some people are visual people, as far as, like, I want to, like, they'll describe songs as different colors and, you know, like, all that.
There's a
stuff.
name for that. I can't remember what
it starts with an S, I think. What is it? Yeah. Synesthesia. Synesthesia.
Again, back to
synesthesia. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people say that too. Pharrell said he's like that too, which I can kind of see. He's had a lot of that sounds and everything like that. Okay, so right now we're actually gonna have you perform a song too.
Yeah.
We'll cut and everything like that.
Okay,
it won't be like now and like you got stuff rolling around.
Yeah,
what's the song gonna be?
Love Me.
Love Me?
Yeah, the track
okay.
that's released.
And then as far as like, we'll wrap it up right now too as well. As far as like where they can find you again, obviously we want to just make sure people know where everything's at.
So you can find the Love Me track on all streaming sites under Queen Mars, and then also my SoundCloud under Queen Mars. That's it. Yeah.
And then Spotify and all that, we're transitioning into the Queen Mars.
Yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you for stopping by.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Peace.